Welcome to Wisdom Beyond Ages, where every story is a step toward understanding life's deeper truths. Let's take this journey together, because wisdom grows when it's shared. Have you ever felt like an outsider in a world that felt alien to you? That was me the moment I stepped into that house. What was supposed to be a casual dinner gathering immediately felt hostile. The room was silent but spoke volumes. Everyone's eyes glanced past me as though I were invisible. I noticed their faint smiles, carefully masked judgments. My mind screamed to leave, but something told me to stay, to find out why this unease felt so deliberate. As dinner began, I hoped the atmosphere might shift. But instead, it clung to the air like a storm cloud. Every attempt I made to break the silence, an innocent smile, a sharing of anecdotes, was met with silence thick enough to cut with a knife. Perhaps I was imagining it, I thought. Then they diverted attention to a basketball game. Relief surged. This might be the icebreaker, but the ball never came my way. And that's when it hit me. The silence wasn't awkward, it was intentional. Then, as I debated leaving, chaos erupted. My friend lunged for the basketball, landing disastrously. A sickening crack echoed through the room, freezing everyone. Panic replaced the cold indifference as people scrambled to help him. The air, once filled with silent judgment, turned frantic with shouts and tears. In this moment, I realized the masks had slipped. Beneath their detached exteriors lay unearthed humanity. But something about this relief was fleeting. There was more to the night than what met the eye. The ride to the hospital felt never-ending. I focused on my friend's piercing screams, each one like a drill in my chest. Speeding through the dark streets, every bump in the road sent convulsions of pain through him. And yet, when we arrived, when he was taken away by doctors, I naively thought the worst was over. Little did I know, my night was far from its final twist. The darkness wasn't just confined to his injury, it lingered back at the house, whispering in wait. Hours later, back at the house, I climbed the stairs on request to grab my friend's slippers. Fatigue weighed every step, but when I reached the top, I was jolted awake. Two women stood before me, unclothed, completely indifferent to my presence. Their calm gazes locked on mine, unblinking. My heart raced as I realized nothing about this night had been random. The whispers, the tension, the exclusion. It all pointed to something calculated, something chillingly intentional. In an instant, it all clicked. The dismissive glances, the choreographed silences, the staged indifference. This wasn't just bad hosting, it was a ploy, and I was the unknowing pawn. My so-called friend, the one who invited me, had betrayed me, using my presence as a form of twisted entertainment. Rage boiled inside me as I stormed out, each step echoing with betrayal. Shame and anger wrestled in my chest, and a single, tormenting question looped in my brain. Why me? For days after, the anger and disbelief churned inside me. Betrayal doesn't just hurt, it rewires the way you see yourself, others, and the memories you hold close. I had spent months trusting this friend, sharing vulnerable parts of myself, and yet he had turned me into the spectacle of the cruelest joke. Replay after replay of that night ran through my head, every detail confirming the intent behind the malice. I wanted to confront him, to demand an explanation or a semblance of humanity. But deep down, I feared that confronting him would give him validation, the satisfaction of knowing I was crushed. So instead, I directed my focus inward. Why had I ignored the subtle flags, the quiet inconsistencies in his behavior? Why had I chosen to believe in his sincerity when evidence suggested otherwise? Taking those questions seriously was the beginning of a profound journey inward. The betrayal forced me to excavate more than just my feelings about him. It pushed me to look at the relationships I had passively allowed in my life. Slowly but determinedly, I began letting go. Letting go of him, of closure, of the twisted sense of validation I'd so desperately sought from people like him. I realized I was clinging to connections that didn't nurture me because I feared being alone more than being undermined. Letting go isn't instantaneous. It's like slowly peeling away layers that weigh you down. But day by day, I started to make space for kinder, more uplifting relationships. New people came into my life, friends who didn't need to diminish me to feel larger themselves. The night I once viewed as my undoing transformed into the defining moment of my rebuild. Sometimes, our hardest truths carry our greatest lessons. Betrayal, while devastating, can serve as the catalyst for rediscovery, for extracting ourselves from places we don't belong and laying foundations for where we should stand. And if you've ever been there, torn down, excluded, betrayed, I want you to hear this. You are not the wounds others leave you with. You are every bit worthy of love and value, and it's up to you to guard what matters. Share your experiences below. Let's stand together, shed the harmful ties, and rebuild stronger. And if you're ready to redefine your worth, join me on this journey by subscribing. Because this space isn't just about my story, it's about creating a community that thrives on care, honesty, and self-respect. Thank you for joining us on Wisdom Beyond Ages, where we grow together through every shared story. Let's continue building a space for reflection, growth, and care.